Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Thunder. This is Case Closed. Case Closed. Who can be demonized and who can avoid accountability? That's what we're going to be discussing today. And, Case Closed, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. It's the place to be. The place to be with an all-star panel discussing the most relevant topics in the highest level conversation in this space. And today's topic is a bit of a touchy topic. We are talking about social hierarchy. We're talking about social hierarchy. Now, I have long said that multiculturalism, and yes, I'm going to jump right into it, that multiculturalism is a proxy of white supremacy. It masquerades as one thing, but it is still doing the bidding of those that are secretly controlling things from behind the scenes. And in these days, it's not really that secret what's happening. When you can see in plain sight certain decisions that are frequently made that seem to make it obvious who is at the top of the social hierarchy. Who is at the top of the social hierarchy? Now, when Jim Crow Joe and Kamala Harris, when they were running for the highest office of the land, there was much talk about reparations. But once they got in office, that conversation quickly ceased. No more talk about reparations. And one of the reasons frequently given was an issue of money. Where is the money? We don't have the money. We can't afford reparations. But then what happened? A war broke out, and then all of a sudden, money magically appeared. And once again, money has magically appeared in the tune of $100 billion. Where was this money when we were talking about reparations? So, if you're not paying attention, then perhaps it would be easy to pull a fast one on you. But this sort of thing has been happening for generations. And although we have been still clamoring about girl power, empowerment, parity in the job market with respect to a so-called gender pay gap and the like, actually what's happened is almost none of those issues are actually still the case. When you look at enrollment in colleges and universities, it's very clear who is dominating. When you look at the number of degrees that are granted, it's very clear who's dominating. And there is, around the space, there has been a trending topic of interracial dating, swirling, divestment, and whatnot. And when you look at commercials on television, it's very clear that there's a particular version of interracial dating that the general public and those that are in power are more comfortable with. And it ain't the one that's involving you dusty ninjas. It ain't the one involving you dusty ninjas. And we've talked about Loving versus Virginia. And one question that could be asked is, if the man was black and the woman was white, do you think that they would have been successful? I highly doubt that they would have been successful. But why is that? I believe it's because of the actual social hierarchy. It's not due to just a matter of timing. It's not just due to, what's actually right. It's not due to who pays taxes and who doesn't. It has to do with who is actually at the top of the social hierarchy. And it ain't you dusty ninjas. And if you look at human history, if you look at American history, especially American history over the last 50 to 60 years, what it is that has transpired and who it is that these policies have benefited, I believe that there is a direct relationship between who sits at the top of the social hierarchy and those things that transpire. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about social hierarchy and who can be demonized and who can avoid accountability. Who does it seem as though no matter what happens, they still seem to not get what they're promised, and who it is that no matter what, no matter if they're behind the eight ball, they still seem to find a way. It's uncanny. It's uncanny. And Andre 416, thank you for that super chat, saying, like CGA says, we're the low man on the totem pole. And the we're that he's talking about, yes, it's you dusty ninjas. Now, I want to say one last thing, and then we're going to get this moving. But how is it possible that the policies that YouTube has with respect to hate speech, with respect to sensitive topics, promoting certain ideologies and whatnot, how come it is that over a 2-year period of time, there has been a growing number of divestors, and in particular, videos by Cynthia G that describe black men as everything but a child of God, and all kind of nakers, dusties, bandits, struggle bandits, and yes, the advocating of the termination of black male infants. fetuses, I suppose I should say. But if you didn't know it, fetus actually, from the language it comes from, actually literally means little baby. But anyhow. So how's it possible that it has taken this long for something that clearly violates policies set forth by YouTube? They viewed it with a blind eye, as it were. Viewed it with a blind eye and let it go. But finally, not only was that video, but many others were taken down and her channel has been demonetized. Now, I'm not a fan of demonetizing anyone. I actually like to know what people think. That's a separate issue. My question is, if it was others that were being called all of these kinds of names, derogatory names, how long do you think it would have been before her channel was demonetized? I believe that social hierarchy is what's controlling all of this. We're going to discuss this and much more today on Case Closed. Let's go. Warning. Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, everyone. Like the video, like, share, comment, subscribe, become a channel member where you'll get access to all archived videos. Support black male media, support independent media, super chats enabled, super thanks for the replay gang. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Dr. Thunder Music, all one word, spell out the word doctor. If you'd like to feed me sandwiches, then hit that Cash App, Sandwich Gang. And supporting the show is a good way to keep this content flowing. But like and share the video. And it's that time. Case closed.
Viewer discretion advised indeed. Am I coming in loud and clear, Doctor? Am I coming in loud and clear? That would seem to be the case. And Kaizo, can you hear us? Shout out to LAR also in the building. Shout out to LAR.
Yeah.
How are you doing? How's your microphone doing?
I can hear.
Okay, I hope the delay is not that bad.
Everything's clear on this end.
You're doing with your internet. Everything is clear on that end as well. Okay, let's get right into it. You heard what Dr. Thunder said, and I want to ask you a question. Let's start with LAR. Okay, I want to make a statement. This statement is a common one that we see. I don't think people in real life actually use it, but it's out there in the media. People want to pull it up and debate it from time to time or use it as a justification or whatever it is. It is the statement, Black people cannot be racist. Now, LAR, I want you to unpack that. What is the spirit of that saying? What are they trying to get across? And how much are you down with that kind of a thing? Or is it something where you're like, that's BS, it's a distraction. Why the hell are we even talking about this anyways, right? Black people cannot be racist, because I think that it is an important aspect, if I may show my hand a little bit as to why I'm asking this question, generally speaking, ladies and gentlemen, it is because when you are lower down on the social hierarchy, you get certain little biscuits and you get infantilized and agency gets removed away from you. Basically saying that Black people are not really human beings. That is one way of looking at it. But anyways, what do you think about Black people cannot be racist, LAR? What's the spirit of it? And do you agree with that saying?
I get where people are coming from. I do. Basically, what people are trying to say or saying without actually saying it is, you don't see Black people attacking people's children because they're a different race. You don't see Black people making sure people can't get jobs because of how they look. You don't see Black cops arresting just random non-Black people and torturing them or throwing crazy charges on them. You don't see us harassing other groups of people when they're just going out doing daily things. And I'm just talking about people on people. You don't see environments where Black people just go, look, oh, I see a family of non-Black people. Let me just F with you today. Let me just mess with your day. You don't see us, just outright just doing all kinds of shenanigans to people and then going, hey, that's what America is. That's what people are trying to say. You don't see, Black teachers just failing non-Black students or giving them grades that giving them D's when they had C's or B's. That's not something that goes on like that. So a lot of times what people are basically saying is, what non-Black people see as normal behavior, the things that I've said, you don't see us participating in that. Because if we do it, somehow, then it's racist. But if they do it, it's how the country works. So that's, the bulk of it. Like, I don't know if you saw the Brave Cave thing in Baton Rouge, where the cops was taking people into a warehouse and torturing them. Didn't see too many, it was like white cops. And not too many white people that they're dragging into a warehouse. You get what I'm saying? So you don't hear stories of stuff like that with everybody. So we're like, no, we're not that.
Mm.
Indeed, shout out to Andre for the super chat. Andre is also a member. I don't know if he just recently joined. Well, no, because it will have shown up or will have been highlighted. But this is the second super chat of Mr. Andre. And talking about CGA and whatnot. I answered your question, Andre, in the chat, but the $2, $2 Canadian are welcome, right? They're appreciated.
Yeah.
But okay, so Kaizo, you heard what LAR said. LAR took the kind of like the observable, empirical, even though anecdotal aspect of the question, saying, look, it is observable that black people do not do these things, right? So yes, black people are not racist in that way. Some of the things that he mentioned do have to do with, being in the system, having some kind of power to decide, and it is yet to be seen if indeed black people are not racist. But the statement is that they cannot be, and it's a power statement. What do you think about that statement? I think it's part of the way in which the lower you are in the totem pole, the more infantilized you are. Basically, it's saying that you don't really have accountability. You can't really do any wrong. Besides what LAR said, forget the empirical aspect of, different people might behave differently, right? Different races might behave differently. But the idea that black people cannot be racist because they don't have power dovetails with certain other things that we see about people whom, quote unquote, don't take accountability. What are your thoughts about what has been said so far, Kaiser?
Yeah, I mean, look, black people are like children. Let's be honest, right? They've been failing since the beginning, right? Africa, when the white man was in charge, was a great country. Right now, it's unfortunately what Trump said is true. It's a shit hole. Black Americans, another case study over there, right? So I think generally we are at the bottom because we deserve it. And can we be racist? The simple fact that we won't even accept that we have full human agency is a problem.
Okay, well, I think you put it down. Been failing ever since. They are like children. Why bother with what these children do, anyways? Like, so Doctor Thunder, what are your thoughts about this idea of black people cannot be racist in the way it's typically stated? I'm adding a little bit of a veneer there that says, look, this is part of the infantilization of the lower person on the totem pole. They're always patting you on the head, telling you stuff, giving you symbolic things, and saying how, you're a cute puppy and whatnot, but you never quite get what you're agitating for, right? And so, what are your thoughts so far about this idea black people cannot be racist?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there is some infantilization that goes on. Um, so, Malcolm X and his sort of pushing against this idea of integration and how integrationism is what has done most of the damage to black people in this country, where rather than us being sort of forced to collaborate with each other and, we are all we have, and then therefore keep the money in the community and all of the benefits of that, and building political capital as as associated with that, rather than that, uh, entering in an arrangement where you clearly have a hierarchy. The people that you're trying to get something from, they clearly have more power. They clearly have more resources, more political capital, more everything, and they don't really benefit from collaborating with you. And so, since they don't benefit from collaborating with you, to be seen together with arm in arm, hand in hand, he says it is hypocrisy. He called it hypocrisy because really what's happened is you create tremendous resentment by the party that is being forced to associate with those that do not bring anything of particular value to them. And you create a sense of entitlement by those that are being given basically a handout because they are not on the same level. They're not on the same level. Now, on the same level with respect to humanity, of course, but not on the same level with respect to power, capital, what it is that they can offer you, X, Y, and Z. So there is infantilization that occurs, and I think it is a necessary aspect. It's necessarily an aspect, let's put it that way, of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is a farce. It is not true in any sense. There's one party that clearly is controlling what is going on and is clearly hand selecting those that can be the representatives of the other groups. And those representatives are going to tend to be ones that are probably going to be on the periphery of their own tribe. Because if they were not on the periphery, they would not engage. They are those that will prioritize the value system of the structure. Right? And so one way also to look at this is to say, is it possible for people to have bias based totally on race when they don't have power to to press down on anyone else, to exert their will on anyone else? Yes, it is. It's possible to have bias against someone. But it's also not possible to really enforce that bias, to press folks down that are not part of your tribe. It's not possible to do. And that's really where that racism, black folks can't be racist thing comes from. I don't think that's actually true. I think black folks can be racist if you just take it to be a prejudice or bias based on race. But another way to look at this, and then I'll wrap it up here. Another way to look at this, an important way to view this, is for the fact that it is not possible for you to exert your will on another community. That tells you where you are on the totem pole. It shows you where you are in the social hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, as you come in to repeat the good doctor, to parrot the good doctor, to paraphrase the good doctor, go ahead and click that like button, share, subscribe if you have not. Become a member like the good Andre, spending his Canadian dollars on this platform, which is most appreciated, most welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, I started out talking about, well, black people cannot be racist. And is this just another index of being infantilized, having your agency taken away? There are many other places in which we see this. Mr. Sean Wallace said in the opening remark about Cynthia G, right, that some people, women and children, shall we say, generally speaking, are also there's a little bit of a twist though in the premise, Dr. Thunder. I'll say this and then I'll move on. But basically, insofar as women are not generally given accountability, okay, there is a both infantilization and a use of them as a weapon, right? So it's they also use them as a weapon, but it's also kind of like an infantilization. Also, it's more complex over there. It's an interesting battle over there, as exemplified by the fact that women are seen as minorities, right? Even though numerically they're not a minority. So it's
That's right.
It's a complex. Yeah, exactly. It's a complicated dance over there. Can black women be racist, for example? Can black women be racist against black men? Can they use racist talking points? Kaiser's favorite phrase. Speaking of Kaiser, I see you getting busy out there in the chat, keeping the chat nicely whipped and going. So, LAR, the next phrase that I have for you is, I'm sure you've heard about punching up and punching down, right? Now, when it is applied, generally speaking, in comedy, like I don't want to hear none of that crap. I like a certain type of comedy. I like my comedy to be real and raw. And as a matter of fact, specifically irreverent, right? I want every sacred cow freaking, I can't even use the words on this good show here. But the
Yeah,
idea is,
can
okay,
I
you
make?
should not be punching down. Let me finish the question, and then you can make a quick point, and then I'll then we can continue. You should not be punching down, LAR. That's so it goes. That you should be punching up. Now, this is another kind of who's up, who's down. Let's not beat the people that are down. Let's pat them on the head. But they're down. We know we're not going to give them exactly what they want, but we're not going to talk smack. Oh, now he didn't hear me. Anyways, Doctor,
No,
not doctor,
I
but
didn't.
LAR. So yeah,
As far as like
LAR.
punching up and punching
Yeah,
down,
go ahead.
oh, sorry about that. When it comes to that scenario, it's kind of, you're not supposed to punch down and say somebody who's was it mentally handicapped or something like that. You get what I'm saying? You're not supposed to. That's quote unquote punching down. You know, but everybody else is pretty much on limits. I think, but in a societal thing, the issue isn't necessarily punching down. It's the issue if you knock out somebody punching up. See, if you're in quote unquote in a power position and you're punching down, it's no problem. But if you're in the quote unquote powerless position and you knock out somebody punching up, that's a problem. So it becomes to me a fake narrative of even power. Power is being able to bully somebody, and then when you get beat up being the bully, have society hold them accountable. And it's like, or punching, they could be punching down is not seen as a big deal in America. Punching up is a big deal in America. That's the same thing. It's the old childhood adage when the bully in the school keeps going to school. The kid who beats up the bully in the school gets suspended. This is how, this is the dynamic. Same thing. Um, if now police officers have body cams. So if a police officer is fighting you for no reason and the body cam footage shows it, and then you beat the brakes off of him, guess who's going to jail? He could have did everything illegal, but how dare you beat up a person beating up you because he has a badge on? And then it kind of it changes with the race, because you see white people fighting cops all the time, not a big deal. So it's the same thing with and I really hate to do it, but I gotta say it. Women can punch men all day long. If men punch back, it's a problem. Now, if men started punching, it's a problem. But if men punch back, it's a problem. So this is the world we live in. It's the world. If you get out of the car and you put a gun to their head and say, "Give me my car back," now all of a sudden you swear America has a problem, and this is part of the global problem. Bullies don't like getting stepped on, and the hypocrisy is basically this. What people are saying is, hey man, you should be more of a person and start being a person stepping on people. But it's ironic, if I start stepping on you, all of a sudden stepping on people is wrong. That's the whole hypocrisy. But I'm done, my bad.
Oh, all good. That wasn't long or anything. Shout out to the long shillings, 100 of them. That's probably 83 cents or something like that. 100. Dusty.
Oh no!
Can-
Don't trigger them. It's gonna figure it out.
You already know. I'm already asking Google.
Indeed.
68
So,
cents.
So LAR is giving the his inversion story. In other words, like, okay, I'm going to ignore the typical narratives and whatever the so-called woke media is saying and say what's really happening, or invert the narrative and say, look, this it's really punching up. That's a problem, even though you may come out there and or you might listen on YouTube and people say, oh, don't punch down, blah blah blah. That's just some kind of weird PR department. But your take, Kaizo, on this idea of punch up, punch down, and the whole kind of social dynamics is going on here. What exactly should a man notice about this, know about it? One of the last speakers mentioned it's the world we live in, right? So, with regards to punching up, punching down, and following these types of rules, is this something a man should pay attention to? Or just understand that power is the end game, power controls all, he who has gold makes the rules, all these other things are just a waste of time? What are your thoughts, Kaiser?
Yeah, great question. So I would like to begin by answering a previous question that Dr. Thunder was um, doing. Is so sometimes we mix up stuff that's in literature. I'm talking about sociology and, let's say, racial dynamics. So words like, okay, race is actually defined by them, right? So by their definition, black people can't be racist because they've defined in a certain academic manner. So then when that word trickles down into society, we then mix and match it with our definitions of racism. So yeah, the definition of black people can't be racist, it is a technical term from sociology and the likes. So black people really just can't be racist according to that reasoning based on academics. Now, in regards to this whole punching up and punching down, I
So let
remember
me
when I
ask
was
you,
like
isn't
nine
that the
years old.
same kind
There
of
was this girl.
thing
Her name was
where,
Lisa. She
and
was
I know
big,
that you
Sahelian
are
girl. I was small,
way, way, way
much smaller
behind
than she was.
apparently.
Now she was misbehaving. She put
Oh,
some
you can't
grass
hear me.
in the back of in my back. I was sweaty, like like one of those red people in America that sweat in their backs, right? So she put hay, right, dried up hay on the back, right. That stuff was very, very painful. So I fought her, right? I scratched her across the face. And, her mom came to my house and said, hey, look what your son did. Now, I pretended in that moment to be sorry. I explained it to my mom later on. She says, yeah, you're in the right. But don't do that. Don't get caught doing that because that could ruin your life. So I guess my point is the whole punching up and punching down, it's all about power. Can you get away with it? Can you mask it? Or are you behaving badly in a way that you're going to be caught and found out, and then you're going to lose everything, right? Is your job depending on finances from certain groups or not? So it's all about, can you get away with it, right? Because it's all Machiavellian stuff. Because even them, the whole punch up, punch down people, these people are with the powers. If you do in your home, you have a small retarded brother, and he keeps fighting you. You don't punch him too hard because your parents will punish you. Same thing with society. So it's always about power. Um, which group has the let's say moral clause power, which group has the physical power, and how do you interact with that? Because I'll give an example, and this is going to, before I sound too convoluted, but if you look at a relationship, right, what these people will do is they will neatly say that there's financial abuse. However, they will not look at the emotional abuse that's coming on from the other side. So I say, do whatever it takes to survive. Don't be stupid, and no.
Hmm. All right, your dusty oogabooga.net Wanga internet is not holding up its end of the bargain. But nice submission, nice submission there. There are a number of uh, things that we can pick up there from what Kaizo said, Dr. Thunder. But perhaps let me throw this curveball here. You see, how come it's the case that among some people, so let's create an analogy, right? We already mentioned that if you're lower in the totem pole, you don't get what you're agitating for, but you get infantilized, accountability gets taken away from you, and you get a certain kind of good PR. So if we take it over to the Palestinian situation, okay, the Palestinians will be in this case in the position of the blacks, where they don't actually get what they want, okay, but you get Harvard University and all these other people coming out, not even mentioning what they did. Like, it's not possible. The same way that black people cannot be racist, the Palestinians cannot, Hamas didn't on purpose march into that place and do that thing. But if Israel does it by mistake, it's horrible. because they should, with great power comes great responsibility, right? If you have the power, then all of a sudden you are responsible. And by the way, I understand this dynamic. I understand the dynamic from several different ways, but one aspect is just is the basic stoic dynamic of like, oh, look, if you're a man, you have to take responsibility, and that's the flip side of the coin of power. But what are your thoughts about the fact, and you can be as careful or as cryptic as you want to be here, that there seems to be, when it comes to the recent activities in Israel, Palestine, and some people don't even mention Hamas. They just start talking about Israel as though they're the only ones that have anything to do with anything. And the other side didn't do those things to those babies. They didn't on purposely grape and X, Y, and Z. Shout out to Andre again. What's going on, Dr. Thunder?
Yeah, hey, he's in here supporting. He's doing what's happening. He says black people can't be racist, but when I'm with a flatback, which is typically a non-black woman, it's a problem mainly from BW. Just saying. Yeah.
Flatback. So what do you say? What do you think about my convoluted analogy there? Kind of analogizing the blacks with the Palestinians, not getting what they want, agency taken away, can't really do much wrong, but then again, they're not getting what they want.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's a lot of double play that happens. So it is the case that the person that has more power and quote unquote knows better, then they're expected to have a different level of conduct, than the person that, has less power and then therefore doesn't know any better. So that's generally true, it seems. But in a power dynamic, it also seems that the one that is actually on the top of the totem pole, even if they're being sort of murdered in the media, still find a way to maintain power. So it's not like it's almost like we'll take our lashings in the media, and they can call us racist, and they can call us insensitive, and they can talk about supremacy and everything else. So we'll take those licks, but that didn't affect my bank account. My bank account is still fine. Everything else is still working just fine, and I'm still able to maintain power. So that being the case, it's kind of like it doesn't seem that big a deal. I mean, you just let enough time go by and everybody forgets what happened, and they go on to chasing chasing the other lemmings. So, and I see Roger is in the house. What's happening, Roger? Report. Good to see you in here. Let me go ahead and mod you up.
Indeed, sir. Shout out to you. Now, LAR, what do you think about demonetization? Right? Are you happy that Synthogy has been demonetized? Again, the way this relates to this topic, obviously, is the fact that, as Dr. Thunder mentioned, it has been obvious the heavy-handedness of her trolling over there. Trolling in quotes, because it's not really trolling. And she's been quite directly heavy-handed in the way she does her thing. Very anti what YouTube claims to stand for. But they got everybody else. I mean, they're getting people like Brett Weinstein and his wife. I wanted to say his manly wife, but I guess I said it.
Rushing down.
Shout out to Heather High and Brett Weinstein's wife. But they're getting people like that before they're coming after, Cynthia G. They're getting Jordan Peterson, all these other people. And then, so LAR, are you happy that she got shot down? Do you, or what are your thoughts in general? Are you anti or pro demonetization?
I don't care. Like, here's the thing. YouTube has this thing where it goes through these phases where it monetizes and demonetizes controversial topics and people. So it brings a lot of money, cool. Like, but then if it brings too much bad attention, we got to shut you down. Like, this is not the first time, the second time, the third time. I don't think the fourth time where people's channels in YouTube got hit for things that they've said that normally YouTube just let keep going on. So, in my opinion, it's like you demonetize it, which means for a while you can't make money on it. But that doesn't mean you're off the platform, which means at some point they're gonna turn it back on. Normally they just got throttled down to oblivion. And this goes with some of the biggest channels on YouTube. So do I care? I don't even care. Like, what nicely. YouTube pumped up a bunch of guys with dresses, wigs, and beards. Right? And they wanted those channels to blow up. Numerous ones. And then all of a sudden, society had a backlash. It's like, let me chill this out. YouTube pumped up a bunch of channels where people were doing ridiculous stunts and pranks that in some places got some people shot, and in some places made fun of things that you shouldn't have made fun of. Like, I don't know, going to a forest in Japan where people were offing themselves and loading that up for content. People will poison themselves eating with Tide Pods. It did. This is what YouTube does, and then they say, "Oh, we don't do conspiracy theories." So everybody who made anything that was conspiracy, we wiping out all those channels. YouTube banned Alex Jones because he was too much, and then simultaneously banned Louis Farrakhan, who wasn't on YouTube. They do whatever they do. It doesn't have to make sense. The policy is not actually a standard for it's not a uniform standard.
Right.
It's somebody is, what, that's cool. That's in the policy. That's in the policy too, but that's not cool. We're gonna get rid of that. That's what it is. And eventually
Wait, I think that the oh crap. I think I'm the one that has delays and crap. But anyways,
It's probably you
sorry about
and
that.
Elia. You guys an
Okay. It's you too. But anyways, yeah. So the EU has a particular kind of legislation that it just passed regarding misinformation. We've been hearing about these terms like misinformation, malinformation, blah blah blah, ever since the bird flu. They've been codifying certain things, right? Where it's like, okay, it might be truth. It's like the Ministry of Truth type stuff. It might be true, but if it's hazardous, like if it's bad, if it's not good for whatever is going on, then we can label it certain things. And the Google will have to comply with that. Now you could say that it's just in the EU, okay, but Google is one company. So the quality of service is going to be diminished, even if they only have to do it for particular sections of the world, right? So the way in which, like, it's a silly example, but you're going to make all Coca-Colas kosher because of a small percentage of people, because why bother kind of changing the way in which you operate? So sometimes certain kinds of regulations or whatever that you have to do in order to be good in certain markets do affect how you operate everywhere else. LAR dropped off, but let me ask you, Kaizo, there are two questions here, okay? The first one is what you think about the demonetization of Cynthia G. The second one is what you do you stand with the Palestinians, and how do you think they should go about getting what they want to get? Since I see LAR back, just a quick response, LAR. Are you do you lean towards the Palestinian side of things to the degree to which you care about it at all, right? Are you sympathetic to their cause?
It's not my business, but I would say they have more right and reason than the other side. I think
Okay.
what it looks like, in my opinion, historically, is a group of people said something terrible happened to us and we should never forget it, and moved to another place and did that to a different group of people.
Mm.
So it's
Got
like
it. And we will, by the way.
you said all of this is
Oh crap.
Go ahead, LAR.
And we're gonna highlight some of the
Here, hold up. Just let's LAR go ahead and finish your comment.
no. I was gonna stop there. It's okay.
Okay, all right. And Ike, what you got?
Yeah, so I'm saying that we're gonna highlight some of the points here regarding, the facts, the historical facts surrounding that area, the contested area over there, 2 states, no state, whatever. We'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, thank you for your statement there, LAR, regarding whom you think has more legitimacy. Now, Kaizo, same 2 set of questions to you, right? Number 1, demonetization. Does it matter? Is there something to be learned from this here? Is there something that has to do with, whom it is okay to demonize? It's okay to talk smack about black men in this case, especially if it's coming from black women, because after all, they are punching down, right? According to this multicultural hierarchy, then it's okay for them to punch down on black men and genocide them. So that's the one question. Then the other side is, what do you think about the Palestinian cause? Are you sympathetic to that cause? How do you think they should go about getting what they want?
Yeah, so I think in regard of demonetization, I'm all against demonetization, right? Regardless whether I dislike the person or like the person, because it is a censorship of free speech. So I'm gonna try to be consistent there. I don't really. I've actually debated Cynthia G's many times on her channel, on several other channels as well. So each time she's always cooked me because she made it seem like all black men are dusty. But the truth is this, right? I am against being demonetized because of principle. Am I happy secretly inside of my soul? Maybe, but that's just a low level version of me being jealous that she was making a lot more money than me. Now, in regards to Palestine situation, which side do I support? To be honest, right? They're all uncircumcised Philistines, right? The Israeli side and the Palestinian side, right? Think about it, right? The land belonged to the Canaanites. Then God said, "Go steal that land." So even if you look at it from the origin, both these people stole the land, right? The Arabs, these are just modern people that moved in that area, and the ancient Canaanites, who knows who they are, right? They're like the DNA is there somewhere. So I would say this, right? Israel stole the land first. They've managed to maintain most of the land. So I support Israel simply because I want the war to end. At the end of the day, Palestine is not going to win. They're like 5 million people, yet they have like a land the size of Wanga land. And that's like a small kingdom. So essentially, I want Israel to dominate them, to change them, and give them human rights. Because I do know this, right? And it's personal for me because the British, right, in the Sixth Zionist Congress, they offered the land of Wanga land in Kenya to the Israelis. So that right now we would be second-class citizens. Now I'll be happy if that happened because Wanga land would be now a rich country. So the reality is simple. I want Israel to dominate Palestine, end the war. At the end.
All right. I think that's the end there of Kaiser's submission there. Shout out to you, ladies and gentlemen, keeping that chat active. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, super chat regarding this all important topic. Again, case closed, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday, highest level conversation on the most relevant topics, ladies and gentlemen. So just a quick kind of rundown, okay? In 1880, the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Empire, right, was running that particular area, okay? It was that empire, that was the people that was running it. It was like 500,000 Arabs and about 30,000 Jews, okay? So the Jews were there. Kai's already mentioned the ancient story about God telling, it was Abraham and them, Abraham and them, basically, to come out of their tent, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, blah, 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 and go take some lands, right? So they did that first. And then the Ottomans were ruling 1880. 1914, okay, Jews started moving into Palestine as a result of Christian anti-Semitism, by the way, okay? It was in Christian lands, okay, to put an extra spice in it, in Europe, that they were, and Eli already kind of mentioned this aspect, right? That, these people were getting stuff done to them. And this was before even the World War II. This is back in early 1910s, right? Because of all the anti-Semitism going on there in parts of Russia and whatnot, they started this idea of Zionism, okay? And about 80,000 Jews were in Palestine in 1914, okay? And then the English conquered after the World War I. World War I started around 1914, right? English conquered after that. Zionism continued to flourish under English rule. But now here's the key part. There have been at least 5 offerings of a 2-state solution, and each time it was the Arabs that rejected it. The first one was, I believe, in the Peel Commission in 1937. Okay, there was the great 1948 war, in which in 1947, which was another one, the UN gave them the 2-state solution again. The Arabs said no. 1948 war happened. They lost. Right, the Arabs lost. Okay, 1967, something similar happened, and we all know about, I think, the Abraham Accords, or was it? I forget what. With Yasser Arafat being brokered by Bill Clinton. But almost 5 times or thereabouts, the 2-state solution has been offered to the Palestinians. Here's a tough question for you here, Dr. Thunder. Not tough, but it's just kind of like, okay, I'm asking you to weigh in on something that, you go ahead and feel free to weigh in if you will. I am making the statement that both sides, when they give historical arguments, I think it's BS, right? Like, dude, you were in the land, I was in the land, this dinosaur was in the land. Who really cares, right? Like, I mean, you get what I'm saying, right? Who really cares, okay? So it's all about power. And insofar as it's about power, it's about a particular deal, right? So about the Versailles Treaty, whatever it is, after this war, some deal gets struck. And each time this deal was arrived at, somebody rejected the 2-state solution, okay? And they're not the winning side in terms of military might. What are your thoughts about, what is your advice, okay, to this side, to the Palestinians? The Arabs, generally speaking. They keep rejecting the 2-state solution aspect, and the deal keeps getting worse every time, because each time you reject it and you do something in terms of an attack, you get beaten back, and the blockade, or shall we say containment or apartheid situations, gets worse. You get angrier, and the cycle continues. But every time it was them who rejected it. Dr. Thunder, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I think what is animating this and why they won't take the deal, there's a religious component. So it's, even if the deal continues to get worse, perhaps they can't accept the deal because of a particular precept in their worldview and their religious perspective. I believe that is the reason why they won't take the deal. From a religious, just what's best for the human beings involved, I would argue take the deal. But I understand from a religious perspective, I think you'd have to, I mean, you have to go with what it is that you believe. And it's part of the reason why these sort of conflicts in the Middle East are so ongoing and likely will never end, is because of competing worldviews, competing religious perspectives. and each believe that a particular plot of land is related to, what it is that they've been promised. So I don't know how you fix that.
You say take the deal.
Can I add something there?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Kaiser.
Well, hold up. I mean, I said take the deal, but I said take the deal from if you're not considering the religious component. I'm saying I understand.
Until your God comes down from heaven to save you, I think you're going to be then getting your head beat. But anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Pretty much.
Yeah, because one of the issues here is
go ahead, guys.
If you're a religious person, you're sort of analyzing it from a different lens. For example, if I used to be a fundamental Orthodox Christian at some point, and from that lens, the Bible prophecies haven't been fulfilled yet for the so-called Zionists to be controlling that land, right? Certain things still have to happen before God has declared that land and the great migration back into that land. So because those things haven't happened, and one of the conditions is peace, then I can't really, from a religious perspective, support Israel. But from let's say, geopolitics, agnostic perspective, I say Israel, stop Palestine from bombing and create peace in there. Because if you look at it realistically, the Arabs are never going to stop until they've been brought down. The Arabs are not like us Africans. Us Africans, hey, we submitted to the white man, right? But the Arabs are going to keep doing things. And because the difference is, right, they believe when they die, they go to heaven and they get 72 virgins. Us Africans know that, when we die, that's the end of our fufu and jollof rice. So realistically, we do need to find a way to...
Fufu, jollof rice, and fufu.
It's a different reward structure, see? And if you like basically a bunch of like incels running around and it's like, hey, I could have 17 virgins, then that seems like that's a good thing. I get you. Yeah.
72 virgins. They don't specify
72
if these virgins are dudes or women, by the way. So
I
end up with 72 incel dudes playing video
wait
games.
a minute. What is that? That's haram. Okay, go ahead.
It didn't say what you're gonna do. It didn't say you should do anything with these. It's like, how dirty are you? That's why I'm gonna be like, hey, dude, what the hell? Like, you thought this was all about sex? How dare you? You're gonna have 72 virgins to whatever, pastor and guide through whatever. So
imagine it's gonna be a whole platoon, right? That you went to bomb together, and then now you're bombing in heaven together.
Oh,
there you go. Bombing. Let's get busy together. Indeed. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, where else can you get such deep analysis, all packaged in nice witticisms and humor? Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and click that like button. And you see the oppressed versus oppressor, which is the particular kind of manifestation of the totem pole that we've been talking about. The particular manifestation of it is, is seen in the as seen in Israel-Palestine, is the oppressed versus oppressor, right? Where the oppressor is given all the agency, all the responsibility, even though the history of the deal since 1937, the history of the deal has been, hey, how about two states? Arabs are like, F that, F no, you guys got blah, 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 and they get their ass kicked, and then repeat. And their state keeps getting tinier and tinier and tinier and tinier and tinier. Let me give a little thought as to what I think should happen. I basically agree with Kaizo. I think that the person with the big stick should just go ahead and end it already, right? Like, it is, after all, it is a continuation of this idea of with power comes responsibility, right? it's the Israelis that should decide and end it. Okay, you wanted to go into that particular land. Okay, you could have gone to a place with peaceful Inuits or something, right? But no, it's got to be Jerusalem. Okay, and over there they don't play that. Those guys are known for what they are. Now this is Ike is being racist and this is essentialist. You're saying Arabs are a certain way? Yes, I'm saying Arabs are a certain way. It is well known the way that they are. This is not a bad way that they are. They're all about that they're about that life. Ain't that right, Elio? Okay. The Arabs are about that life. And if you want to go over there to take people's land who is about that life, just end it already, bro. As in, like, do it, take it all the way. Push them all the way to Valhalla or wherever. Send them to the virgins. That's how because that's how it's gonna have to be. This is not a place where people are gonna come to the table with half measures. Okay, it needs to be full measures, right? So unfortunately, that's kind of how I see about it. But what are your thoughts about that, LAR? That look, the Israelis have the power. They're dealing with people who are about that life. These people have shown time and time again, both in their words and their actions. What you say?
Okay, like you asked this question. Like you said, I think historically, both of those people, that's not actually where they're from. I mean, since we got so much technology, we can do all this DNA testing on all these people, and they're not going to be from that place. But it'll throw a huge monkey wrench in a religious argument about my land that God bestowed upon me. So, and those people could do it. They don't want to do it because they already know this. For all those people who are biblical and who read the Bible,
actually,
what's so stupid
can I cut you
about
for a
this?
second, bro?
No, just mess with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, he's 100% correct. I was actually on my channel. All we do is talk about genetics, and I was looking at the studies. Right, Israel refuses to actually give out the ancient Canaanite bones that have been found. The reason why, of course, if you look at the DNA, right, these people, the ones who came from Germany, right, we know who they are. They don't have majority of that ancient Canaanite DNA. Even that so-called, the Kohen modal marker, that's the gene that they use to say that this person is related to Aaron, the brother of Moses. That's BS. There is no Aaron's tombstone. And these people, if you look at their DNA, it's not related to the ancient Canaanite bones as much as unfortunately, I like to say, the Arabs. So the Arabs actually have a little bit closer genetic affiliation there, but even them, they're not the ancient Canaanites either. The bones are a little bit archaic. The ancient Canaanites would be more like an Etufian group structure. So yeah, that's a really, really great point. The LAR. Sometimes your brain explodes and your high IQ, starts to shine. That is a rare.
Well, I ain't done yet. Here, we got another problem with this whole thing. If you read the Bible, there's a part where Jesus comes back and said, "Depart from me, for I do not know you." This is wholeheartedly lining up with that. If Jesus came back, I don't know y'all. I don't know y'all. Y'all know who I was talking to. Now, the other thing about this, just in a religious aspect, I think it's particularly stupid to say, because I'm of this religion, I live here. You didn't find that religion there. Where is that religion from originally? It ain't from Israel or Palestine or whatever you want to call it. It didn't even start there. If I'm not mistaken, what we call Christianity and Judaism started in Ethiopia. But I'm like, okay, this is what we doing? Fine. The worst thing about this whole scenario, I would not pick a fight with people and say, God told me to live here. God told me I live here. And you systematically kick people off of a place that their family's been living for generations, and then say they're not supposed to do nothing. But you're in making it a religious argument, you want to tell me you're going to surround yourself by all the other religions that you're so-called enemies with? So it's really not, if you take this country, you're going to be one country in the middle of like 5 or 6 different countries that are all of the opposite religion that just saw you step on their same brethren of the same religion. Their immediate response is going to be, oh, y'all going to try to spread out and do that to us. I mean, y'all spread out and did that now. So what's going to stop y'all from spreading out and doing this here? See, the issue for me is the hypocrisy of, bro, I don't think y'all really want to, like as Ike said, if that's the case, y'all should just end it. They can't end it. That's the issue. They can't end it because if they end it the way you're saying, they are just like the people that they left. And then all of the, the not necessarily the praise, but all of the passes that people have gotten because of what happened in Germany, you get no more passes. You get no more like, well, no, y'all just like them. No, we're not. We're different. God told us to do this. So now you just put yourself in a problematic situation when all honesty and using religion as a basis for what I'm about to say. If all these people are so religious, how come they couldn't do any of this stuff peacefully? This has nothing to do with God. God is a big excuse.
Yeah.
So just
LAR with the mic drop.
Stay out of there.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done. And the reason why I stay out of it because it really ain't our business. But the hypocrisy of being in America, you mean to tell me you fought a whole world war to stop people from getting systematically destroyed, to help those people, and then fund them to systematically destroy another group of people, the same exact group? It's like, what are you doing? Oh, okay. Yeah. We're not going to let these people get, put in concentration camps and killed. Yeah, they're here now. Now we're going to give these people enough money to buy enough guns and tanks and train them to put these people in concentration camps and systematically kill them. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Let me guess. God told you to do that too. It's like, oh, okay. All right, fine. But what happens when other people say, you know what God told me to do? God told me to kill all y'all now. That's not the God that I serve. Obviously it is. The God that you serve told you to kill all these other people. I don't think people serving God. I think people serving Thanos and saying it's God. That's just my opinion.
So shout out to Carlos, Dr. Thunder. You want to read the
super
chat?
Yeah. Let me acknowledge that, and also I want to acknowledge. I got two more actually to acknowledge. I don't think I ever acknowledged this one. Don McKee saying, "I can't lie. I would be a brave cave type of cop." And then of course the big $15 Canadian from Carlos saying, "What do black people care about this situation?" And yeah, I've already seen it in the chat. We don't really care about this situation. But I think it's a good example showing a particular aspect of social hierarchy, and why it is that a number of folks, because they've said sort of at times pretty obviously true things, maybe have been canceled because it seems to have been against certain parties, and whereas other parties like you dusty ninjas can be called nakers and selective breeding and everything else. If it's going to be a black boy, terminate it. Actually advocating things, and that messaging can stay up and fully monetized for a couple years. But then finally and I also agree with Kaizo. I'm not a fan of demonetization or any sort of limiting of free speech. I want to know what my enemies are saying. I want to know what people that have a bias against me just because of my race, or because I'm a man, or because I'm a dusty ninja or whatever. I want to know what it is that they have to say, and then that way I can move accordingly. I can, okay, well, I'm not going to deal with them then. If they offer me a deal, that's probably not a good deal. I probably don't want those folks around my family. So it'll be that sort of response. It gives me all of the information. And also, we don't, in effect, teach people how to be more effective racists, by basically telling them and showing them, here's the list of things that if you say these, it's obvious to us that you're a racist. So then they say, okay, well, we won't use those words. We'll call you a naker instead, or whatever. We'll call you some other stuff instead. And then, they get away with it for years at a time. So I would rather people just be able to use a hard ER right on the internet, that I'd know exactly what it is. I wouldn't have to keep learning all these new terms and stuff. All right, go. That's okay. Go on, Ike.
Nigga, please.
Nigga, please, nigga, please. Okay, so and to answer the question about so black people, quote unquote, if you're talking about the people, right? The people, then they have a political position, they have a set of political priorities and such. But you just so happen to be listening to black men, right? I don't think LAR claims to represent black people, right? And in that regard, he's a man in the world, right? If he's free to care about anything, okay, and free to opine on anything and anyone else. Again, to this whole kind of agency thing, right, where black people are in some kind of special box somewhere, like if BRICS plus Allah decide to nuke America tomorrow, you think they're going to be like, oh, the blacks are exempted? You think that's the case? No, you're American, if you haven't noticed. So what America does, who America supports, and so on and so forth, is part of your business. Okay. It's a general kind of that's my general thought anyways. As a man, an individual person, you should be aware and perhaps care about certain things, even though I would not specify what those things are. I'll simply not specify, hence there's no question as to which one. And then number two, you are American, so don't think you're exempt from the wrath, if the wrath does come for America's exploits and such, right? Now,
1 second.
Kaizo, Dr. Thunder said.
Hey, one second. Let's let LAR get in here. Go ahead.
I think I'm gonna say it this way: as Black Americans, I think we're looked at differently as far as America is concerned. And the reason I say that is because historically, we actually haven't been on the side of America effing with people everywhere. Now, those very people that come here and F with us after the fact, but most of our historical reference as far as other groups and what's happening in other groups, we're not on the side of people getting stepped on in a general sense. From our leaders to people in politics to that's part of our conversations on this. People are surprised when Black Americans like, look, I'm done with this immigration. We're done. It's like, no, you've been on our side for all these years. No, we see how this is going now. So when it comes to America, if you have family members who are in the military, who are like in Vietnam and the Korean War, they would tell you even, at war, they were looked at differently than their white counterparts. Because even in the military going to war, their white counterparts would be attacking them too. To the point that they started attacking their white counterparts. Like, oh no, you're not going to kill us because we over here to fight this, not this and you. So as a group, I don't think we look at ourselves as in America, but not necessarily a part of America. So sometimes we don't think we're viewed as Americans, because even when people who are not from America come here, they don't view us as Americans. They view themselves as more American than us. The minute they get it, it's like, okay.
Great.
So my bad.
That's interesting, and it lines up with this whole multiculturalism thing, where if you're actually if you are an authentic representation of the community that you come from, then you're not going to really be part of, at least not centralized by, multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is really for a bunch of peripheral, folks that are kind of on the edge of their community, perhaps folks that have been excommunicated, and it could be excommunicated for good reasons or for bad reasons, right? And so I think other folks, other cultures, immigrants and things, they know that. They have an idea of that. And if they themselves are trying to cozy up to the multicultural sort of spout of power, if that's what it is that they're doing, then they're not interested in you dusty ninjas, and they don't see you as being a benefit to associate with anyhow, other than to take your money and tell you to hurry up and buy.
In the form of super chats. Indeed. Oh yeah, so the immigrant is always a more effective coon, and that is through the lens of the African American, through the lens of the immigrant himself. They don't even know the game that you're playing, right? They are not even playing that game at all. Like this idea of the America and the man and the powers. And like, what the hell are you talking about? I just here for the dollars. Wherever I see dollars, that's where I'm going. Okay. And yeah, sure. I'm building a house back in the village, and I'm building a well, and we finally got some clean water. Okay. Ever since the 80s, we haven't had water. That's all they're thinking about. Now, it seems like there's another
Here,
super chat.
let me get this super chat. This is Carlo again, with the $15 Canadian. Thanks again for the support, coming through and being supportive. Saying don't care about that which either or much either, though I'm not for demonetization. Right.
Shout out. Yeah, a lot of people seem to be hanging their hats on the principle of not being down with the demonetization. Shout out to Andre, Basketball Americans. I don't think I've heard that one before. Basketball Americans.
Bro. When white people tried to be racist to me, they used to speak to me in a Jamaican accent when I was young. They're like, "Yo, man, Kaizo man," and I was like, "Bro, I'm not Jamaican. I'm African." So I don't know, man.
Basketball Americans. That's great. Oh.
This racist stuff makes for some of the best jokes.
Bro, don't get the Sudanese sense. Yeah.
But
okay. I'm sorry.
Kaizo, do you think that there's anything that, shall we say, okay, so we talked about being about that life, right? That was my shorthand summary take of, let's say, the kind of Islamic or the Arab, not Islamic, but the Arab thrust that they don't F around, generally speaking. They don't forgive, right? And again, these are things that are adjacent to the kind of master morality type stuff, which I have nothing against, because I think it's more true to what people actually want, especially groups of people. Groups of people want to dominate, okay? And the Arabs are about that life. You mentioned, or you juxtaposed it with, with the dusty Africans who gave in. Is there anything that Black people, whether they be Africans, African Americans, in this case, perhaps, can learn from the Arabs? Let's say, for example, that they are not part of the structure. They don't want to be part of the structure. And as Dr. Thunder said, if they're an authentic representation of their particular group, they don't want to be part of this multiculturalism structure, which puts the white man at the head and such and such. So is there anything at all that can be learned from the Arabs? Or are you going to stick with your point of like, hey, don't do anything because the people who have power are going to clean you out, just like you said that the Israelis should clean them out? So anything to learn here, Kaizo?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I don't think Africans or Africoid descendant people should follow anything Arabic, because at the end of the day, look at this, right? Like, if you want to copy someone, copy the Chinese. The Chinese have Chinatown, but they also integrate, and they're the white man's favorite coon, right? So they're coontastic. So copy the Chinese, but the Arabs, no, because it's not going to benefit us in any kind of way. All it do is you have that stubborn, unwavering sense of superiority when you're living in literal dust, right? It's a desert. It's a desert mentality. I don't think it will serve Africans at all. But if you copy the Chinese, you go there, you pretend you're the number one coon while you're building and stealing their technologies. I think that's what Afrocoid descendant people can do. Pretend to be a master's favorite student. Isn't that what some Black Americans did? Right? They cooned hard until they bought their freedom. If they didn't coon, the master wouldn't have let them, buy their freedom, right?
So, Dr. Thunder, what are your thoughts about this? In African American parlance, broadly speaking, this is not. I think Jack and Jill, Boule, respectability politics. Please stop mentioning the model minorities. These types of things will come up when you talk about this type of, hey, I'm going to coon, set up Chinatown, we'll do this, I'm going to do that, right? There seems to be. Let me not belabor the point, but you get my question there. What are your thoughts about that? Is this a viable path to just be like, hey, I'm going to take off these shackles and just be clear about the chessboard I'm playing in and just get stuff? Just because I'm over there doesn't mean I'm getting infected by some evil spirit. I'm just getting dollars. Go ahead. What are your thoughts on
that? Yeah, so before I respond to that, Andre 416 reformed again with another super chat. Thank you very much, saying Chinese are my people. They gonna have my back.
He's just like he's drinking mimosas and making random points. Okay. Shout out to you though.
Thank you very much. Your question. So the question that you asked, I think that I'm going to respond to is: do Black Americans can we learn something from what's going on in this Middle Eastern turmoil? Yeah. The system is never going to support you or accept you, especially you dusty ninjas. And to the extent that it will receive and accept our women, it will not really truly be for the sake of benefiting them in particular, nor benefiting the community that they came from, that they come from. It will be for the sake of continuing to destabilize the community in order to continue to be able to extract massive resources from that community, especially for you basketball Americans. Now, one thing about the basketball Americans reference, which I find to be actually quite profound, though it is hilarious on its surface, it recognizes something with respect to the men in terms of what it is that we would be valued for. And if we are not basketball, if basketball is not our skill, then it tells you all you need to know about if there is any value of us or not. The answer to that is no. The answer is that to that question is no. And that view is being replicated and has been replicated in mass by our women, who tend to will prioritize us if we have those skills. Either you sling, crack, rock, or you have a wicked jump shot, but will not tend to value us when we are just educated lames. So that's an interesting a point to make or observation to make by expressions like, you know, those from the immigrants, in us being sort of basketball Americans. That's an interesting, because even that communicates, even from afar, it communicates. You don't even have to know anything about, no nuance, no detail, no history, none of that. You don't need to know that. You don't need to understand any of the dysfunctional aspects of the community. You don't have to know any stats about, single motherism or incarceration. You don't need to know any of that. Basketball Americans communicates all of that.
Indeed. We need to find a T-shirt, a painting, a rug, I don't know, something to commemorate that piece of wisdom there. Basketball Americans. Now, Dr. Thunder, I'm going to make a quick statement. I want to see what you just kind of, what your general thought about this is, and then Kaizo, and then LAR, or free flow, whatever, and then we start rounding it up. Ladies and gentlemen, a free flow freestyle while you guys continue to click that like button. Okay, that means X out of the chat, right? You heard that, Andre? Then you click the like, and then you can come back in the chat. Don't worry, the chat is not running away. You can come back in, drop a super chat. You can become a member while you're out there in the like land and whatnot. Okay, so agitation for reparations, right? Which is, redress of your grievances, what it is you're trying to get, whether you are a Palestinian trying to do your Arab thing, or you're an African American trying to get what is owed to you. Generally speaking, I think that it is worth pursuing because it is a nice shiny object that will cause you to increase your power and your leverage, because that's the only way you can approach that object anyways. So it's like the rabbit in front of the dogs in the race, right? Chase down that reparations because it'll tune you up. And yes, you now the question of, is it owed? Yes. Therefore, morally, you should get it, right? But now I'm saying it is also a good tool, because the only way I see getting it is to be in such a position that you have a certain amount of leverage where you're not even asking for it anymore. Because it's kind of like a catch-22. It's like you can't get that thing until you become big enough to get it. And by the time you're big enough to get it, do you actually need it? You don't need it. Now you're just getting what's due to you. It's unfortunate that to get what's due to you in this world, you literally have to have a stick big enough to compel that thing out of that other person's pocket, right? So, Dr. Thunder, does that make sense? It's a good enough thing to pursue. It's a good motivation, because in doing that, in order to get the leverage that you need to get that thing, you're going to develop that stick, and hey, boom, voila, magically, things have happened. What are your thoughts, Dr. Thunder?
Yeah, I mean, you must have the power to extract the resources. Extract the resources to get what it is that you want, and so then therefore, I mean, I can go back to earlier what I was saying about Malcolm X and his sort of disagreement, his distaste for integrationism, and how it has, it's created this hypocrisy, between Black America and the dominant society, where the dominant society feels tremendous resentment for having done anything for us, and the and the Black community feels a great sense of entitlement. Not all, but many in the community have a sense of entitlement, and you're never going to be able to generate the kind of political capital, the kind of economic power, and the kind of just social capital to be able to sit down at a table, being able to offer something evenly. I have something that you want, you have something that I want. We're never going to be able to do that. Not with the way that things are. And so really the only way to fix this problem is, and I mean, this is where some of the sort of separatist kind of rationale logic actually makes sense, where you choose to separate for the sake of improving yourself and your own community so that you can re-engage having developed strengths that are actually valuable to other communities. And since we don't have the big stick, we'll never have the big stick. We're stuck with that. And this is why politicians are able to, with regularity, promise things or not even make any promises at all. And we line up and vote the same folks in office, and then they don't have to follow through because there's nothing that we can say, well, since you didn't follow through, we're taking this off the table, or we're not going to do this thing for you. We don't have anything like that. And even in the sake of our basketball Americans, our athletes, we have, we don't even have the foresight, the will, the collective will to say, check it out. We're starting our own league. We're bringing back the Negro leagues for baseball. We're going to bring back, or to begin a black professional basketball league, and we're taking all of our athletes. Same thing with football. We're taking all of our athletes. We don't even have the foresight to do that, which actually could create a sort of power. We don't even have the sense, historically haven't even had the sense to properly contract our own music, to properly, so that we can extract resource. So that could be a value source. How much of our music is actually owned by other folks, that don't look like us? I don't really see it. I don't see an end to that until you choose to separate, build up that value, and then re-engage. Unless that's going to be, and it doesn't have to be like an official separation or declaration. It could just be, we're just going to value these kinds of things, and we're going to do this, and we're going to work with each other. We're going to prioritize that. And then once we have something that's of value, then we're going to come back to the table. But I don't see us ever doing that either. So.
Okay, so Dr. Thunder, and I'm not going to be, if you're that pessimistic, or shall I say realistic about it, because I don't know that it's pessimism, because I'm not looking from the inside, right? But if you're on the inside and you're saying this is the reality, that it's not going to happen, we'll have to take your word at that then. But I'll ask Kaizo that the project that Dr. Thunder just described, albeit realistic point of view, saying that it's not going to happen, is not a project that involves the masses. It involves, quote unquote, a critical mass. And it is about separation, a class type of separation, by the way, where certain Black Americans separate from basketball Americans, right? By class, by pursuits, by X, whatever it is. And they become these people whom are getting the money from even the entertainment industry, the sports industry, or some other places where they've decided to do X, Y, Z. And they can then harness this on behalf of the group to go to the table to ask for something for the group which, by the way, is going to also be to their benefit, because these types of people that I'm describing are typically not your dusty kumbaya, oh, I'm doing it for my brother. No, they don't give a damn. Yes, they know that they're black and so on and so forth, but they're here for greatness, right? They're here to be great. They're not here to,
Right.
to be a basketball American, you know? So they're good. So, Kaiser, what are your thoughts about that? Again, the premise is this: you're going to use, let's say, reparations as a way of focusing, right, the group. A small percentage of people need to go get that big stick, which is necessary to get leverage to negotiate something like the reparations, right? Dr. Thunder mentioned some of the aspects in which, hey, look at all this opportunity for African Americans to reclaim value, right, from the marketplace, sports and whatnot, and other kinds of things. So, what are your thoughts regarding that? Dr. Thunder said it's not going to happen. Given just general chaos theory, I'm like, well, why can't there be a separation of class? Is this cultural thing so deeply entrenched that they can't a class can't separate and actually go out there and do something? Or is it the whole white man racism thing that will not make it happen? Hence, well, anyways, go ahead. What are your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think you can't separate it by class in theory, but I do also believe that a lot of us diasporans we bought into the lie that we're all black, and apparently black culture means the basketball American kind of culture. So ultimately, is it possible? Of course, anything's possible, but is it probable? I think that's the question you're asking. Can we separate effectively and leave behind certain aspects of our cultures, or rather the cultures that have been imposed onto us, and move forward and actually make that a real new, let's say, alternative class structure? It's difficult because right now, the case leaves me to, you got the conservatives in Black American culture, and then you got the other Black Americans. So it seems like whichever side you're on, you're always kind of taking the L. Either you're conservative or you're too, stuck in that so called degenerate culture. So we would have to redefine a new culture that is neither conservative or the degenerate Black American culture, and that's difficult. And like I mentioned earlier, it takes a strong man to do this.
So, LAR, we're gonna get your last word on this aspect here, and then we're gonna give our final thoughts as we go out here. But the last word here is about this reparations, and is it a hopeful tool? Maybe you might not get all the way to the end, the glory that Dr. Thunder has already said you're not gonna get to, but is it a good kind of rallying point, something that can organize people, that can inspire people to be able to, even though unknowingly,
So
maybe they don't
I didn't
know
answer
that they're
that
inching
last
towards
part.
competence.
Yeah, right. So I didn't answer that part on
Okay, so
reparation. So
go ahead.
yeah, so the issue here with the reparations question, as Dr. Thunder mentioned earlier, um, the money keeps coming for Ukraine versus Russia. The money keeps coming. Just somehow the United States, Federal Reserve is able to just come up with all this money for all these other non-American conflicts. Right? You got Ukraine versus Russia. You've got now Palestine, or rather Hamas, and the Arabs versus Israel. Somehow billions, right? If not hundreds of billions of dollars, just appear out thin air. I think if you're going to leverage or lobby the American governments, right, from states levels and otherwise, you need to go give euro dollars to other nations outside of America, and somehow America, an issue where they don't want Black Americans to have a foot up, so that they can now rise from the ashes.
All right, all right, all right. Shout out to a super sticker, I believe, Dr. Thunder.
Yes, thank you, Eric Ibu Elliott. Thank you very much for that.
Indeed. So, LAR, do you think the pursuit of reparations is a good pursuit in the sense that it'll tighten people up, get them in shape, at least some people, and get them involved in the political process? Something. LAR.
I think the reparations argument is like twofold. One is it a necessary argument to have? Yeah, it's been. I mean, Martin Luther King brought up the reparations thing. That's how long this has been going.
Yep.
When he started talking about money, that's what got him killed. It wasn't all the other stuff. It was when he said, "You owe us some money." That's what started all that. So that's been going on for what, 60 plus years now. So The other aspect of that of the reparations conversation is this, and this goes with the other argument we was having about the other country. When you publicly show that you're willing to do everything for everybody else, and at the same time try to step on this person that's right next to you, don't expect loyalty. Like that, like what America is on a precipice of getting is Black Americans who gonna show you, okay, we're really gonna be out for self. Because people believe, like you talk about the political process. I don't think it's dawned on people that, what if we just say F the political process and just start doing, we just cutthroat with everybody. Business wise, I'm a cutthroat. If you get caught up in the streets, who cares? That happened to you. Cutthroat. If you want to get into politics, how about I just sabotage this party and then sabotage that party? Cutthroat. How about since you can ruin my life in every way, shape, form, or fashion, I get to ruin yours. And let's see if all this tough talk everybody's talking, let's see if they can actually stand on it. And all of this stuff
Yes,
doesn't
LAR,
even
but
have
is
to
that
be
going to happen?
You really don't know us, do you? You do realize we're
Because
part of
Dr.
the same
Thunder
group.
just said, now you're saying something. I'm saying that what you're saying is the same thing that Dr. Thunder said it's not going to happen. Because what you're calling cutthroat and this and that, I'm just saying that's about getting leverage. That's about getting out there in the real world and getting shit. It looks like cutthroat all the time.
No. I think I'm not talking about leverage. Like what I'm saying is, I'm a part of a group that at to a degree, part of our group does not care about leverage. We're not playing games. We've seen all the games we played. So since it's kind of like you showed up to play Monopoly and then I showed up with a bat. So that's what's going on. Like a lot of times and what I'm about to say, I'm not predicting this, but what I'm saying is this. We've tried all the nice Christian ways, all the political ways, all the be the better person ways. And even in that, and I really don't think people understand this, we could have stepped on people a long time ago, even white America. And there is no fear. There is no, these guys could step on us. Look around America and see it's Black people who go in all kinds of white establishments and not have an ounce of fear on them. We don't care like that. And that's the same thing that goes when we're in Asian environments, when we're in Arab environments. We don't care like that. If we really wanted to just step on everybody, it ain't that difficult for us to do. We're actually just trying to be nice, God-loving people and not do to y'all what y'all do to us. But you forget something. It's just an old fighting preference. If I'm on the defense all the time, that means I'm taking your punishment. You ain't got me out of there yet. You better be careful because when I get on offense, you ain't used to getting hit. Every Black American knows what it looks like when we step on another person who's not Black. They can't handle it. They're not built for it. They're all talk. So what I'm saying is we don't care about politics. We don't care about this idea that, oh, if I say this magical thing, all of those days are pretty much over. If we do this magical thing, if we say this magical thing, we understand that everything we do is just part of somebody playing a game to get over. So how about this? How about I break your kneecaps and let's see if you play now? We're the opposite of what people think we are here. We're not really violent because we can beat the brakes off of everybody. We don't see people as a threat. But when we see people as a threat, it's on. What I said earlier when I started this thing, when I said we don't target people's children. We don't target people's wives. We don't target people's daughters. That's not what we do. We don't target teenagers and act like they're grown. That's not what we do. But when we target adults, they ain't got no recourse. even politically, even if even if we're doing law, even if we're just working, they have no recourse. What I'm gonna say in this, as I had an argument with a coworker once. Not gonna say who it was, coworker once, and he believed in that. I'm gonna play games, and I had to explain to him. I said, "Listen, man, if we get into a fight because you start a fight but you don't want to get in a fight, and I get fired, who told you were going home? Who told you that you was gonna make it home? I get fired, and you go to your family, and you come back the next day. Who told you that?" And that coworker was just like, what do you mean? I tell, I'll cripple you. You'll never work again. That's how a bulk of Black America thinks. Mine is almost America separate themselves from America. The more Black businesses you see, the less you see Black people in certain places. You got to look for us now. Even in major metropolitan cities, we're not trying to be around people. I'm gonna leave it at that. I quit. That was my last words too.
There you go. There you go. Finally, we get it out of LAR. We get LAR out of LAR. Okay. Enough with all the quiet talking, light skinnedness, and whatnot.
Imagine I'm surrounded by light skinned niggas, and I'm out here
So-
as the only real African.
Don't let the
Wait a minute.
smooth taste fool you.
Wait. Kazo, you African this week? Because I know you was Muslim,
Oh, wait.
you was Pakistani, you was Christian. You claiming it the whole week or just today?
Okay. Hey man, you're trying to
Because I
expose
know
me.
you the race of your girlfriend. Whatever girlfriend you get, you gonna be that race. You like trans relationship racial.
Yeah, I want to say something to support what it was that LAR is saying. So, see, Black folks are, by and large, we are law-abiding and God-fearing. Historically, we have been. But here's the thing. It's not because we are afraid. It's because we're doing what we think is right. Now, you put folks in a corner and give them no other option, you may think it's because we're docile, but I think you might be surprised that that's not actually the case. We are just law abiding and we are freedom loving and all of that. That is why there hasn't been major issues. I mean, you've had a few dust ups here and there, but why there hasn't been a major upheaval? It's because of that. Now, if you juxtapose that with the reality and the fact that United States has become increasingly more secularized, and so stuff like less church attendance, less, believing in a particular right and wrong, more obscuring of foundational values, you kind of don't really know what you're going to get. And, there's a reason why you want to treat people with fairness and you want to do what is right. And it's not just because they've paid into the system like you have. Like they should get the same outcomes as you do because they paid in the system like you do. It's not just that. It's also for the safety of all people. You can't marginalize folks and think that they're never going to do anything. And so I just saying.
Indeed. Kaiser,
There is an
let's
advantage
get
of
your
being the
final.
one. There is an advantage of being the one that everyone else is afraid of. If it's for completely propagandized reasons or not.
What are your final thoughts, Kaiser? See, we started this conversation by asking the question, can black people be racist? This is to highlight the fact that racism, according to the sociological definition, has to do with power. So black people don't have power. It seems like they don't also have agency. They're infantilized. They're put in a situation where, hey, you can't really have accountability. We're just going to pat you on the head. We're going to say we don't punch down, and all these other kinds of things. And now we've gone full circle to where LAR is saying, hey, here is a certain kind of leverage, even though he wouldn't call it that, right? Here's a certain kind of thing that I can do, right? And be about that life to the fullest and whatnot. In this regard, and in many other and any other regards, what are your closing thoughts, Kaiser?
Yeah, so I think in regards to whether black people can be racist, I think the general truth here is that sociologically speaking, no, simply because they've defined it utilizing group power dynamics. And in that case, then if you generalize black people in the whole of America, I'm going to talk about some high black American states like, I don't know, DC or something, whereby they're like 50%. But if you just look at the average, let's say, of black Americans being 12 to 15%, then they can't, as a group, enforce their racial bias as much as perhaps the dominant culture. So in that regard, if we just leave it there, that is correct. However, it's more than that, right? It's the sentiments and also the feeling that it leaves into individuals, which is of hopelessness, as well as subservience and, of course, infantilization. That's a separate thing that comes from that ideology concept there. So I think in general, when you're looking at social hierarchies, um, you know, we have to consider the aspects of what we value. Do we value power? Do we value black people in general, asserting their dominance culturally as well as other means, for example, scientifically? A lot of people don't actually even know, for example, Lewis Latimer and all that kind of stuff. It's relevant. The reason I bring it up is that if black people, especially black men, right, because that's who you can put responsibility on, if they come together and organize and build, an example is industries that take on certain education and or technological advances, we can definitely change the narrative, right, in worldwide scope, and also change by virtue our children's social hierarchical positioning. So I think it just depends on, are we willing to do the work? Will we do the work? And can we do the work? Or are we going to be Dusty's, as our sister says, the one who got demoted?
Shout out the one who got demonetized and demonized, albeit too late. Indeed. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end, and Dr. Thunder is going to take us out. Okay, we gave a breakdown of we used two, shall we say, events.
Don't take us out to a
Demonetization
cheesecake
of
factory.
the Cheesecake Factory one. That one was an interesting one. I know it doesn't matter if things are real or fake, especially these days, but it kind of it's a strange, like she's just videoing herself. The guy is going over there, opening the door. The guy is super simp esque, and I don't know. But anyways, let us land the plane, Dr. Thunder. Okay, we used two touch points. One was kind of Cynthia G. We talked about Cynthia G and the fact that she represents a particular group. Okay, and she was punching another group. And this particular group she was punching, it's okay to punch them, apparently. It's okay to keep on saying certain things about black men. And a black woman, in this case, is the best kind of tool to use, okay, to beat the hell out of black men, because a black woman is also, now she's punching up because the black man is the white man of the black community. He is the patriarch, even though that's never happened in the Edos community, and
Yep.
so on and so forth. Okay. And we also looked at the Gaza Strip and what's going on there, and the oppressive versus oppressed narrative that's going on there, and the certain kind of agency that's given to one side and the other side. And we went in and talked about what the things that could be learned, what the recommendations indeed, why should we care and whatnot. But please bring us to a close, Dr. Thunder, with your final thoughts and round things up. Been another great episode. Case closed, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday.
Yes. Let's see here. I actually had I've got this. Let's see if I find it. Okay, there it is. Let me see if I can. I don't know if it's going to let me get it. I'll just show it on my show in the morning tomorrow. Make sure you come back and check out Rolling Thunder tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and all week. And also come back on Wednesday to check out Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. That's likely to be 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be looking forward to seeing you all there. It was my birthday last week, and I had my birthday concert on Thursday. I'm going to leave that concert up for maybe another day, and then I'm going to put it behind a paywall. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and do so. And along with everything, all of the morning shows, I put those behind a paywall after about a week. So if you want to see any of those shows, you probably want to do that by the end of the day. I'm going to start putting those in the master's degree area. But like the video, share, comment, subscribe, become a channel member where you'll get access to all archived videos. Support Black Male Media. Now, with respect to this issue, there are certain people in society that they're everyone's favorite whipping boy, and no one seems to come to their defense. And then there are those that if you say anything at all about them, everyone is ready to jump to their defense. And not just that, you can be canceled. And you may not even understand why you're being canceled, because to you, what it is that you said seemed to be reasonable. And I believe that this is clear evidence that there is a social hierarchy. And in this social hierarchy, understanding where you are in that hierarchy is beneficial. It is a benefit to you. So then you know what it is that you can do and what you're not permitted to do. But with that, as LAR was pointing out, if you have already been the most marginalized and they continue to marginalize you, and you've been propagandized, so now everyone is afraid of you, well, y'all the ones that did that. And if you don't want to have any trouble, then perhaps you should do something about the way that the system is set up. And with that, we are out. Have a good one. Peace.